be more overwhelmed. And I'm going to warn you, you'll be a little overwhelmed tonight, and let's take it step by step, we'll get through it. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to hand it off to Ms. Gaffney.
All right. So we're going to start out with, what do you need to graduate Bacon Academy? So in order to graduate, you need 25 credits. You need 9 in humanities. You need your 9 in science, technology, engineering, and math. You need your PE credits, which is 1 credit. You need world language, which is 1 credit. Your health and wellness, you took 1 in 9th grade, and you're going to take another 1 when you're a senior. Capstone, which you'll take next year, and then 3 additional credits. So those are all the things you need for graduation. What we need with you guys, we're going to give you guys a copy of your transcript and a graduation tracker, because in March you'll be selecting your classes for the next year coming up. So we want to make sure you select the classes to, I call them buckets, each of those buckets for graduation. As far as the buckets for graduation, one of the things I'm going to talk about is you want to end your junior year strong. So right now what you're doing in your classes, you want to work really hard because your GPA that you're going to get in this year, you will be sharing with the college. So you want to end very strong and you want to start very strong in September because those colleges are going to be asking for your first quarter grades. Now, what am I going to do once I leave? Now, how many of you remember taking the personality test on nods? Seeing some nodding heads and hands ahead. Good. Well, how many of you guys went back and looked at those answers? Okay. We're going to ask you to go back and look at those. For those of you guys who did take the test, go back and take the exam and see what careers pop up for you. There might have been some surprise careers there for you. So the way for you guys to do that is to go on your Naviance, and this color recording will be going to you guys. We will have the steps going step by step through there. And look at the different careers that you possibly could get involved in. There's also a tab on there called Road Trip Nation. And I love this tab because it's videos of different people and road they took to their careers. Now, how do I tell my students is it gets snowing in here and tomorrow? But they have all these really cool jobs and careers in there. And the jobs are always growing. So moms and dads, when you guys went to school, where they're like app making design, web design, YouTube channel jobs, those were not there when I went to school. There's all the different jobs and careers that are on it. And when you go on Motivation, there's lots of great information from different people and all different ethnic backgrounds, different steps that they took. And yeah, I like looking through some of those certificates, and I think it's lost on a rabbit hole in some of these careers. There's a lot of information on it. Now, when you're getting ready to search for college, how do I do that? Now, we keep talking about Naviance. Naviance is going to be your best friend for the next year. You're going to use it for your searching your career. You're going to use it for searching colleges. There's a great tool on here called Supermatch, and that's a great way to look at the colleges. So moms and dads, and for some of you guys have not seen what Naviance looks like, this is the page that each of the students will see. At the top you see home, it says self-discovery, careers, college. The self-discovery tab, the second one is where I was talking about looking at those profiles of your career interests, so they say grade interests. So you want to go up from there. And I'm going to show you right now is how to find colleges. The tool on here is called Supermatch. And what is nice about this is you put criteria in that is important to you when you're looking for housing. And some of them you might not know that. So one thing is location. Where do you want to go to school? Do you want to stay close to home? Do you want to go far away? I know some people don't want to go far, far away. Some people want to stay close to home. Well, the top, as you see criteria, there's location, academic, recruiting program with a few things in here. So under location, you can pick any of the locations that you want to look for college for. So I chose New England. But you know what? Maybe Maine is too cold. So I'm not going to go to Maine. So you can take Maine off. But you can put anything on there you want. Say you have a contact lives in Oklahoma. You want to go to Oklahoma. Maybe you want to go to Florida. So I would put anything that you're interested in for your location. The next tab is academics. Now, many of you guys may not know what you want to do for careers yet. I put in here accounting and finance and biology. Those are just two. But I would encourage you to do is put as many careers in that you're interested in. Because if you find a school that has all the different majors in it, you won't have to change schools if you decide to change majors. And there's a lot of great majors out here. The next tab is we have admissions. Now, this is where you can put your GPA. At the end of your junior year, that will be the GPA that you're going to want to use for your college applications. Also on this tab is where you put your SAT results in there. I'm going to talk a little bit more about SATs in a little bit down the way. But this is where you plug that information. Student life. How many of you guys are involved in clubs and sports here? How many folks think when you go out to college you want to continue in those sports and clubs and that? So this is where you go on and you put those clubs that you're interested in to see if those colleges have those clubs and organizations that you're interested in. And Mr. Shutton is probably a little while about the ROTC in there. If you're interested in that, that's something you'll check. The next tab is diversity. Do you want to go to a co-ed college? Do you want to go to a women's college, a men's college? What are some of the criteria that you want? If you want to go to a college that has a particular religious affiliation, this is where you can check those also. Institutional characteristics. And most students kind of check 2 years and 4 years in public and private, just to start out with, just so you have a bigger net of opportunities to look at. Where it fits here, size of the school, I kind of use the school of UConn as an example of a very large school. If you can see yourself being a student on the UConn campus and how huge that is, you might want to check very large. If you're thinking maybe central, some more medium-sized schools, you might want to get medium. You may not know to start walking on campuses, but it's a great tool and resource that you guys have here. This is one that you'll be working with your parents on. And then put in there what the cost of your family budget is as far as the college that you're going to attend. How many folks in here are athletes? How many of you folks are thinking about playing in college? So this is where you click on here and see what sports that college has that you're interested in. And then we'll talk a little bit down the way about NCAA. The next tab is resources. On this tab here, some students in here may have different disabilities, different resources that they need as far as assistance when you're on a college campus, and you'll check those in this area here. So you'll be able to have a big picture of all the resources that you have available on that college campus. Now, one of the things that I plugged in there is I come up with some results for you. So as you see, my first result is the University of New Haven. It's telling me it's 100% based on what I put in there. Now, I didn't put all the criteria in there, I didn't put them all over the boxes. But it's showing me that's a college that meets 100% of my criteria. UConn's another one. Trinity College is another one. So those are some of the ones that meet my criteria. As you start looking at them, you have the opportunity to pin those and kind of come back and look at them. So say let's look at one of the schools. So when I take this first school staff ratio. The school has 16 to 1 staff ratio. Student life, this shows it's a small school. It's only 37 miles from the Academy. Admissions. It'll tell you what the deadlines are, and so I'll get into deadlines in a little bit. It'll also tell you what the application fees are. Application fees can go anywhere from like $20 to $100. As you start visiting colleges and colleges start visiting us here, you can get some application fee waivers and whatever we help you guys out with that as well. Under the admissions tab here, there is a bar here. It tells our school's application history. So you may want to know, hey, anybody else from Bacon Academy ever applied to University of New Haven? This past school year, we had 15 people apply and 3 people have been accepted. So it shows the history for several years. Below this, there's a scattergram that will tell you, based on the students who have been accepted, their GPAs, and where you would be once your job is put on there, where you would fit within those kids that are accepted to that school. It's a great resource for you to look at as you're looking at planning your college visits. And the last tab is the cost. Back on the home page, there's a section that says what's new. We have colleges that are coming to visit us all the time here at Bacon. What you folks want to start doing here is to start looking at some of the schools that are coming to visit. You can come down to the counseling office we have passed and come and meet the college reps here. There will be some coming up sometime soon and into the fall. So as you look at your ambiance, it's going to be something you want to start looking at on a daily basis. Hey, who's coming, what college rep is coming, who am I interested in seeing?
9 times out of 10, the rep that comes is actually the one that submits applications from our school.
Correct. And it gives you face-to-face time with that college rep. You're not in a big auditorium at that college with a bunch of other students. You're there more or less, there's probably like, 8 or 10 other students there, and you get one-on-one time with them. And it's a great opportunity. I know there's a lot on Naviance, and that's just kind of a quick overview on how to use it. Junior will be working with you a little bit more step by step on your process. It's a lot of great information. So when you're looking at colleges, we ask you to have 4 options. There's safety schools, beach schools, and private schools. And we actually looked at 4 options, but 6 options for schools. We don't want you to apply to too many. Safety is the ones that your GPA is there and financial mom and dad say, this is something you can do. Then you have your private schools and your beach schools. Now, 4-year colleges is not for everyone. 2-year colleges, or the community colleges that we have here, is a great way to start, especially if you don't know what you're going to be doing for college. It's a great way to dip your toes into the college scene. One great thing that we have here in Connecticut now is something called the PAC program.
So, college is not for everybody. I know it's for a lot of students, they want to go into the workforce, or they want to learn a trade. And one of the other options that's been growing in recent years, particularly in the last couple of years, has been students who want to earn a technical degree and actually learn a trade. And this has really exploded, I would say, in the last couple of years, particularly because of some of the industries in Connecticut we have. And we do have quite a number of kids who choose to get vocational training. Could be in auto mechanics, being an electrician, a plumber. Some vocational schools have chef training. There's a whole slew of different kinds of vocational schools out there. The only thing you need from most of these schools is a high school diploma. That's it. And most of them will take you. They will finance your whole tuition. Most of the time, it's anywhere from 1 year to a year and a half. At most, it would be 2 years. And usually, you don't have to pay your tuition back until you start working. Okay? And the reason that is because unlike colleges and high schools that get ranked on graduation rates, vocational training schools get ranked on job placement. So it's in their best interest, usually before you even complete the program, that they will get you full-time employment. If there's any interest in this, I would encourage you again to see your counselor. There's a couple of really outstanding programs, including a new one that just opened up in New London. And this is a really great way, particularly with the economic environment we have today. It's the career in technical vocational training is something that you would want. And again, there's lots and lots of programs that are out there that have these types of programs, and they're becoming more accessible every day. Also, some of you may be interested in careers within the military. There's lots of avenues that you can access the military. I'm going to talk about the major ones. The first one are the military academies. So, and they are West Point, which is for the Army, Annapolis, which is for the Navy and Marines, the Air Force Academy, the U.S. Coast Guard Academy, and the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. Typically, these programs are extremely competitive, among the most difficult higher education institutions to get into in the country. West Point, Annapolis, Air Force Academy take about 100 students per year, 2 per state. The Coast Guard Academy is one of the most liberal. It takes about 300 students, and the U.S. Merchant Marine, believe it or not, takes only 24 students a year. So they're very, very difficult. Unlike other colleges and universities, you generally have to start applying by the springtime of your junior year. There's also other components that are involved. In some of them, you need to get recommendation letters from your federal senator and representative. There's also very stringent medical exam and physical fitness exams that students have to pass or ultimately accepted. However, if that is something that interests you attending one of these academies, please see your school counselor. We'll try to assist you as much as we can. We have had a record of some students getting in there. However, I do want to state that it's very, very difficult again because of just the sheer numbers that they accept. It's very, very low. The other way of accessing the military is called ROTC, which stands for Reserve Officers Training Corps. ROTC is actually a scholarship program that's given by the different branches of the military. In this case, you would apply for the scholarship, and you would also apply separately to college at the same time. Most of the time, students will attend a college if they're accepted into the scholarship program that has an ROTC program on campus. However, it is not an absolute requirement. The only requirement is that you go to college at least within commuting distance of another college that has an ROTC program on campus. If accepted, what happens is that you go to college, at the same time you take military science course, at least one per semester. There's also drills and training on weekends, and 6 weeks in the summer, which you have to go to either a base or a ship or somewhere that military branch trains. Right? Upon successful completion of the program, you are given a commission in that service branch, and you would also serve as many years in that military branch as you were given a scholarship. This is a lot easier to get into than the military academies, and it's almost just as good. Typically, there's about 500 students across the whole state of Connecticut within each branch of ROTC. Okay. The next part would be enlisting, and this is if you graduate from high school, you go down to a recruiter's office, you look at different types of options in the career in the military branch that you are interested in, and you basically sign up and go as an enlisted person. It's a little different than ROTC and the military academies in that you do not come out as an officer. However, if you spend enough time in the military and you meet different qualifications, there are officer training programs in the military. The difference with this program is that you are a soldier, sailor, airman first, and then a college student second. Because even with enlisted, just like with all the other ways of getting in, does also qualify for the GI Bill. Okay, and I should mention that, so that whether you go to the Air Force Academy, or you go to ROTC, or you enlist, the military will also pay for additional education, even beyond the bachelor's degree, because the GI Bill can qualify. If you do enlist, we highly recommend that you take the ASVAB test. Typically, that's given junior year. You have to take it every year, sophomore, junior year. Even if you're not interested in the military, taking the ASVAB test has no commitment to the military. It will give you a very good idea of what your aptitudes are, and it helps, just like with the career personality inventory that Ms. Gagnon was talking about, to kind of narrow down your focus as far as what potential careers might I be really good at, might I enjoy. There is no commitment to get into the military, and even if you're not interested in the military, please consider taking that test. But those results, certainly if you are thinking about the military, are going to be essential to help determine a potential career path.
Our next ASVAB date is in April.
If you do decide to enlist in the military, there's options. You can go full-time, or you can go into the reserves, which is a part-time program, which essentially is attend college or work, but you have to commit to weekends and a couple of weeks each summer to do training and drills, and also do service for whatever branch that is. We actually have a very active reserve military component in Connecticut, the National Guard, the Air Guard. So that's another pathway that you should go. Jumping back to colleges now. It does get confusing when you apply to college a little bit. There's a couple of different types of deadlines. Certainly much more different types when I went to school, and it's important to know the differences. The first one I want to talk about is early action. It's sometimes referred to as priority. This is at many institutions. You apply early. It's usually anywhere from October, generally November. Some schools it might be earlier, and you find out earlier when you're accepted. It shows that you're organized. It shows you're committed to the process, and you're really serious about college. The nice thing about this is that you can apply early action to as many schools as you want, and you're not committed to it. We do have a lot of students at Bacon Academy who do choose this option, and I would encourage you, if you have the stamina, to do it early and soon, because most students start pretty much right in September, so that their applications are ready by October, November. It's a good thing. The next thing is early decision. I would say that this is not generally recommended for the vast majority of students. This is a situation where you have to, if you choose to do this, and it's voluntary, you choose one school and you apply early decision. The caveat is that if you get accepted into that school, you have to go to that school, regardless of the other acceptances, regardless of financial packages that you receive through other institutions. It is a binding legal commitment, and colleges adhere to a database, and they can tell if someone has not stayed with that commitment. It's essentially for those students who are so sure that they want to go to a certain school that they can, and if they get in, they are absolutely going to go regardless of all the other factors. If there's even a little bit of doubt, then do not go early decision. Okay. Also, there's regular decision. Again, this is normal deadlines. A lot of students do regular decision. There's nothing wrong with doing this. However, I will say that students who go early action for sure get looked at first and start filling up the spaces first. But regular decision is fine. The same, and some institutions have what's called rolling decisions. You'll see application deadlines all the way into sometimes July. I would be cautious about this, however, because while you can apply so late, in many cases, and we've seen this with certain schools, even in Connecticut, they may fill up their student body much earlier. Even if you can apply late in the game, it's too late because they've already made their decisions. So again, the general rule of thumb is try to apply as early as you can, and as you're comfortable applying it if possible. There's no one selection criteria because there's 9,000 colleges in America, and everybody's going to have a little bit different way about doing it. However, there are some general criteria that many colleges adhere to. SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test, and the ACT, which is another test very similar to the SAT. All colleges take these tests equally. I will say, and I think Ms. Gabby mentioned it, the trend has been lately that many schools are going test optional, especially since the pandemic. We haven't really seen a rise with those schools coming back. I can't say it's never going to happen, but right now we've never had as many schools that are not utilizing these tests. However, it doesn't mean you shouldn't take them seriously, because if there is a school that still requires those tests, the better score you have, the better chance you're going to be accepted. Letters of recommendation. Your students are going to need to have to get at least a minimum of 2 letters of recommendation, typically from at least 2 teachers or 3 teachers, but however, they could be from a coach, they could be from an employer. These are all going to be processed through Naviance. It's an important part of the application process, and I can tell you that colleges do need these letters of recommendation. Also, an activity resume. In 9th grade, we started to do an initial resume on Naviance and the Naviance Resume Builder, and we encourage all students to start to update their resumes as soon as their sophomore year, definitely by their junior year, and that resume will be used in the process when they go to apply to college. It's good to keep information on that regularly, because it's very, very easy to forget, especially if a student gets an award or they have some kind of achievement, and then something you can't remember. What happened? They can go right on to the Naviance Resume Builder, plug that information in, and then update the resume later on and format it the way they want. College essay. Almost every college, except for the community colleges, is going to require an essay. Typically, it should be about some topic that really shows the personality of the student. It's actually not even as important as far as what you write about, but how you write about it. Because what the admissions officers are looking for is they want to see the characteristics, those skills, the strengths, the drive, the personality. The content isn't as important as it is so that do I want to know that student after reading that essay? You can start on that early. We encourage students to can start their essay during the summer of their junior year. One of the things that we use a lot is the Common App, and we encourage when you do the essay not to have an essay more than 650 words. We also encourage that English teachers take a look at it to review it for grammar, to review it for content, just to make sure the overall flow is as powerful as the student wants and there's nothing objectionable. Also, there is an application. Most of our students will apply to colleges using the Common Application, which is a format which allows you to apply to multiple colleges all on using the same computer template. However, there are some colleges that will still require that you go to their website and apply separately on their website. However, what we're finding is that fewer and fewer of those are occurring. There's also a couple of other ones that are much smaller. One's called Coalition application. You'll see some of those, but primarily the Common App or individual schools may have their application on their site. How many of you are thinking about sports, playing sports in college? Anybody here? Okay. So if you are thinking about playing sports in college, there are, especially with Division I and Division II schools, you do have to register with the NCAA. There's a website called the NCAA Eligibility Center. There are some GPA requirements, class requirements that you have to take to get NCAA support. I would encourage you to talk to your coach or see your school counselor. You can go over what they are, but it's a separate process. Division III schools don't require you to register with the NCAA, just Division I and Division II schools. As I said, many colleges are test optional today. I'm just going to go through this quickly. Most colleges accept the SAT or the ACT. However, on the East Coast, I would say the vast majority of our students take the SAT. And because we do a school day SAT, that SAT is accepted as part of it. If you want to take it again, and most student scores go up the second time, however, they have to take it on a Saturday. You can register with the college board. There is a fee for that, but some of our students do end up taking them, and their scores end up going up. Colleges will take the highest score, it's called a super score, on any individual part. So if you, let's say you took the school day SAT here in March, and on English you got a 670, and then decided to take it in the summer, and on that same English part you got a higher score. They can take that higher score of that high test, and then the math, they take the highest score regardless of what administration they took. Okay? Khan Academy, this is a partnership the College Board has with Khan Academy, which is an educational training corporation. This has really changed the game for preparing for the SAT, at least the SAT. The ACT has a similar type of partnership that they have with another partner. But Khan Academy, it's free. It will take your students' PSAT scores. It will look at your strengths, look at what you need to work on, and it will give you an individualized plan to help you improve your scores so that you can practice even as little as like 5 to 10 or 15 minutes a day or once a week, whatever, to just get better on those areas that you need help on. I personally have seen students do this consistently and started early after they took their PSAT in 10th grade to really improve their scores when they went to take the SAT. And what's nice about this, you're not paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars for this. It's free. It's totally free. And in many cases, I think it's a lot better than some of the high-priced SAT test prep courses. Because it's targeting exactly those areas that you feel you need to work on. And it's really changed, I think, how students approach test prep and improving their score.
overwhelmed. A little bit, there's a lot, okay? So juniors, my section, Mr. Subject stole a little bit of my thunder, but what I'm going to give you now is your to-do list. So if you're taking notes, if you're putting them in your phone, now is the time to really think about what should I be doing now. And as Ms. Gagnon said earlier, we are going to share this slideshow with you. We're also up there, thank you, Lily, Lily's recording this, so you will have access to watch this again and again for fun on weekends. But we're here as a resource if you forget, because we recognize that this is a lot of stuff. Okay? So, juniors, something I need you thinking about is this. Who will you ask for your 3 letters of rec? 2 of them should be from 4 academic teachers. And if you can tie those to your major a little bit, that's helpful. For example, if you're planning on perhaps pursuing like a pre-med program, then I'm going to say you want at least 1 science teacher that you're asking. If you're going to go into communications, maybe English teacher. Okay, so we want 3 letters. You do not need more than 3. In some cases, you might add an additional letter if you had someone that was not a teacher that would be writing on your behalf. So 3 teacher letters are more than sufficient. However, if you've been working at Enchanted Jungle, okay, and you have a good relationship with your employer, and perhaps you're thinking about pursuing a degree in early childhood or teaching, that might be a good person to also write an additional letter of recommendation for you. If you are in the robotics club and you've been doing it for years, that advisor could be a good person to write a letter of recommendation for you. Okay? If you've got a coach that you've worked with over years and they can speak to your work ethic, that could be a good additional letter. But 3 teacher letters are all that you need. Now, we recommend that you ask these teachers for the letters before you leave for the summer. It is likely most of your teachers will say, yeah, ask me in the fall. That's fine. Some will write letters over the summer. Some of the most popular asked teachers will get requests from like 60 students. It's a lot. So what we find is that if you ask early, number one, if you're going to early action, you're going to need that early. But also, if you ask early, you have a better chance of them saying yes, you will not be overwhelmed and be able to get you a good personalized letter. Okay? So we ask 3 weeks minimum. I encourage much more than that. Now, when you ask your teachers, what you want to have completed is a brag sheet in advance. A brag sheet is exactly what it sounds like, and it's going to be weird for you guys because it is asking you to brag about yourselves. Parents tell you your whole life not to do that, we want you to do it here. So this link will take you to an electronic copy of the brag sheet. Parents, there's a little bit of homework here for you too, because there's a parent section. You will have a much easier time filling out your brag sheet than your student will. It's awkward. But the whole purpose of this is that your teacher might know you in class, but not know personal stuff about you. So by completing this brag sheet, and they're not like hard questions, but they're thoughtful questions, your teacher can get to know you better. So do you think your transcript is an accurate reflection of your ability? What are you most proud of here? Juniors, you could start this brag sheet tomorrow. You know, they're full of their whole story for you. But you could start it tomorrow. The point is you want to have this done before you ask those teachers for letters of rec so that you can share it with them right away. I would share it electronically. I would take right in here. Just make a copy of it for yourself. Okay? So that's something on your to-do list that can be utilized immediately. Now, this is just for you to know as an overview, but later on, once your teachers agree to write you those letters of rec, we're going to add them on nominants. This is a process we'll help you with later, but what we want you to know, and the reason why we put that up there now, is you will not have access to use your letters of recommendation. You're going to give up your rights to that. Colleges want the letters to go directly from the letter writer to the school. And I think if you think back a few years to the college admissions scandal, that makes sense, right? Like they want to make sure you're not bribing anyone to do these things about it. You want to make sure that the letter writers are actually authentically that person. As your school counselor, we read every letter that gets submitted. If there are mistakes, you have an awkward conversation with the teacher and say, hey, you wrote the person's name wrong here. Well, this is wrong. That's awkward, but that's our job. We have that conversation. It happens very good. We also look at the letters, and let's say a school will only take 2 letters. Some schools have those criteria on there. we'll go through your letters and say, what are the strongest 2 letters for this program, and those are the ones that we'll submit. Okay? So we read them and see them, you will not see them. I know it's a bummer, we want to read good stuff about ourselves. Okay? And we talked about coaches and employers Sunday. Another to-do list item for you juniors, as Mr. Stavchek said earlier, is to make a resume. Your resume is not submitted as part of your application. However, by having a resume, it's going to make application completion as well as scholarship application completion later much, much easier. We're all very busy. I'm sure you're involved in more than you can think of off the top of your head. I'm sure you have received awards as underclassmen that perhaps don't come to mind for you right now. A resume is a place where you can list all of your extracurricular activities, whether you're Bacon affiliated or like you're a black belt in karate outside of here. Any volunteer work you've done, employment you've had, awards, honors, achievements. If you've consistently been on honor roll, for sure that should be on your resume. Any leadership positions you hold or training that you might go to, and any special skills you have. So if you're someone who's going for the seal of biliteracy later and you've got that, that should be on there, absolutely. If you're CPR certified, put that on there. That shows that you stick with something and you need certification. You can format your resume using Naviance, but you can also just make a Google Doc, call it resume, and start a listing of the stuff that you've done. Okay? We want you to do that now because as you remember things and you go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. You have it down all in one place. And like I said, it's going to make completing your applications much, much easier. And it's going to hopefully ensure that you don't forget anything because you all think a lot, whether you realize it or not. We're back to the college essay. So people really freak out by this. They go, oh, I don't know what to write. Here's the good news. Common App has a bank of several different prompts you can write from. And they all kind of interrelate. Tell me an event that changed your life. What motivates you? All sorts of things like that. What you want to do is you want to choose a prompt that you can write genuinely about. Do not craft a prompt to the readers, the application readers, that you think they want to hear. Okay? It's a chance, as Mr. Stavchek said, to show your personality. We read some weird college application essays. Really good though. Like, what is my favorite Chipotle order and why? You wouldn't think that that would be a good essay, but this person used it to talk about kind of their approach to life and the way that they do things. I had a student this year who wrote about her favorite place being graveyards. Also strange, but it gave us a lot of insight about her and the way she approaches it all. You don't have to have something kitschy like that. You can talk about an experience that was really really affected you and impacted you. There's a whole bit of it. But start thinking out, what makes you individual? What makes you, special, but what makes you you? Okay? It's a 650 word max. That's not much at all. A lot of times students struggle to make their essay compact enough to fit in there. It's something you can draft now. The good news is that your 12th grade English teacher will likely create a lesson or an assignment around the college essay. They understand the stress that you are under. If they make it part of their class, it makes it a little bit more forceful and getting you to get it done. It gives you some tips. So that is something that we'll be speaking to 12th grade teachers about again because we think that's really beneficial. Juniors, share your essay with your parents. I know, in school, they ask you how it is, you say, you didn't know me. Share your essay with them. They have a lot of insight about you. We also want you to share your essay with your English teacher or former English teacher. The more eyes you have on it, the better. We're certainly always willing to use them for you. But you can start drafting now. Okay. Another thing Mr. Stavchek spoke out was the Common App. Parents, do you remember back when you applied to colleges and you had the applications printed out page by page, and if you made one mistake on the page, you threw that page out and started over because colleges couldn't know that you made mistakes? Common App takes that all away from students, okay? Over 900 colleges use this application. Basically, you register for an account, you fill out your background information once, all that good stuff from your resume, and it gets sent to any schools that take the Common App. The only differences in the application trade or technical school or a community college, their applications are separate, okay? That does not mean you would not have to apply directly to a school as well if your school is not on Common App, but more often than not they are. You can create a Common App account, juniors, as early as August. And I recommend it. It's not that you want to spend your summer doing this. However, if you start populating with the easy stuff, it's just less you have to do later. You can fill in your name and address pretty easily without much effort. Get it started, get it going. What we don't want you to do is leave here doing none of this and then start senior year and go, hey, what am I supposed to be doing? Because that will set you into a panic with your senior year process. Another thing we spoke about was NCAA, the eligibility center. Again, if you're planning on playing Division I or II college athletics, you really need to have a conversation with your school counselor. We also loop Mr. Burke into this because you do have to register at the eligibility center. Those are the highest level of competition at the college level, and because of that, there are some modules and different things that you do have to do. If you are playing Division III or a recreational team or just playing for fun at school, that's not something you have to worry about, but certainly we're happy to give you more information if this pertains to you. So here's the money conversation. College, grade school, it's expensive. It is an investment, right? And yes, it's important, but we do not want you paying off student loans for the rest of your life. So it's about a balance, and it starts with a conversation with your family. There needs to be discussion about what is reasonable and what you're willing to be on the hook for. Okay? Now, something to consider, and we have financial people come in and, they talk about this every year, and it's kind of mind-blowing to think. Sticker prices of private schools are generally much higher than public schools. However, private colleges have access to endowments that public universities do not. Therefore, after getting their financial aid packages, much of the time, private schools end up being as affordable, if not a little more affordable, than public universities. It's strange because of the sticker price difference. So it's important for you to have a conversation about what your family can afford, but part of that conversation should be, yeah, this sticker price is high, and we might not be able to do it if that's the sticker price, but I would not want you to exclude applying somewhere that really suited you because of the sticker price. What happens is that when you get accepted to a college, you will get a letter of financial aid, and it will tell you if you got merit scholarships, if you got different, academically based free scholarships, right? You can also apply for outside scholarships, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then it will tell you what you're going to have to pay in loans. That's kind of like a starting point, right? So they give you an offer, and then what you would do if you're savvy, and we'll talk to you more about this, is kind of comparing financial aid offers, and it's kind of like buying a car, right? This dealership can do this for you, what can you do? So there's a little bit of billions in there, okay? So have in mind what your family's finances are, but do know that there are ways around it. Now, almost every single one of you will complete the FAFSA, okay? That is the free application for federal student aid. You need to complete the FAFSA in order to get any type of financial aid like student loans. But also, a lot of colleges require it for all of your different endowment scholarship needs. That's how they look at your needs. So unless you are completely paying out of pocket for college, you're going to do FAFSA. It is available as early as October 1st of this year. Parents who usually get saddled with it because it talks a lot about family finances, and in most cases, your child doesn't really know. It's still not. No offense to your child, okay? So it's something that parents usually do. It is not hard to fill out, it is just tedious and requires some paperwork like your W-2 or something like that. Okay? Colleges use your FAFSA, which gets submitted to the government, to determine how much your expected family contribution is. That EFC number they give you is higher than what you have. You're like, where did you get this from? What was the payment you have? But it's how the government calculates. Okay, so FAFSA is something that everyone in here pretty much will be doing if they're planning on going to college. Also important to mention with the PACT program, you said community college is free for now, so it stays that way. One of the only pieces of criteria under the high school diploma is you must fill out the FAFSA in order to get that free tax program for community college. Okay? I would be remiss not to mention that there is also something called the CSS profile. Most people in here will not have to deal with this. The CSS profile is used by some private institutions, and you have to do it on top of the FAFSA. If a school requires it, they will let you know. It is even more intrusive than the FAFSA in that it asks you everything down to the make and model of your car and what you owe in your car payments. To add insult to injury, you do have to pay to complete the CSS profile. I feel ridiculous saying that, and I'm sorry, but it's true. No news is good news in terms of this. So if you don't hear about it, it's your lucky day. But do know it does come up. So let's talk free money. Senior year, we will have a presentation for you juniors to talk about scholarships. But here's the overview right now. A scholarship is any free money that you do not have to repay. It does take the cost of time and effort on your part. But here's the good news. A lot of times, you draft an essay or two, maybe even your college application essay, and then you can repurpose it over and over to apply for scholarships. It's not plagiarism if it's your own work. You will get a scholarship packet that our lovely office professionals put together for you. Thank you for that. Okay. This year's scholarship packet had 65 opportunities for just Bacon Academy seniors. Our due date for it is March 10th. So if you also have a senior in here, be on them about that, okay? This scholarship packet, like I said, 65 opportunities for money just for Bacon Academy seniors. It is mind-blowing to me each year that less than 50% of the senior class will apply to any of those scholarships. They will not put in the time to do it. But if you think about it, you get a scholarship, maybe it takes you an hour to do a couple of applications, but you get $100. Your hourly rate is pretty good. Okay, so we're going to bug you about that. Those are just scholarships for Bacon Academy. We have a school counseling website, which I have been harassing your children to bookmark now for a couple of years since it's come together and been updated, but I'm linking on here. There's actually a financial aid tab right on the website, which is going to give you information about FAFSA and warning about this profile. Spoiler alert, there's stuff in here about scholarships. But as you can see, again, our office professionals will do us about anytime we hear about a regional or state-based scholarship, we put it up here and we link the application for you. And one of the things that we want to meet with you about is to learn what makes you tick. What do you think you'll be applying for? And that way it helps us to give you scholarship ideas that will be coming up. So as you can see, there's quite a list here. We try to get as much of this information to you as possible because it's a great opportunity to not have to be paying off student loans. Okay, there are also other websites where you can look at national scholarships. There are scholarships for everything, for being left-handed, for being tall. I did one of those last year for someone. Yeah, see, you're tall, maybe, right? Okay, for being an only child, there's a zombie apocalypse scholarship. I kid you not, it's strange, but there's money out there for everything. It's just about looking. Vegan scholarship. So this is a crash course, right? And this is starting the conversation and starting it early because there's a lot here. Your job, juniors, is you're going to complete your application. That includes getting that activity resume ready now to make application completion easier, and your essay included in the application. You also will be doing your brag sheet right now, and then you're asking those 3 teachers for letters of rec. And if you want to send your SAT scores, you have to send those directly from the College Board website. College Board is one of those very strange entities that if we call, even though we're credentialed school counselors, they'll say, no, I won't talk to you, I need to talk to the student. So we are unable to send your SAT scores for you, which is just as maddening to us as it is for you. Right? So you're going to do that stuff. Besides supporting you and nagging you at times and making sure you're on track, our job as counselors is we send all of the information along, like school transcripts. We'll send out an initial transcript and we'll send out your mid-year, junior year transcript, or senior year transcript, excuse me. We send out a school report, a school profile, we send out letters of recommendation. And part of the application includes our recommendation You don't need to request that from us. So, what we're looking for after this, and what we're asking you juniors, is a 15-minute personal check-in with you. So you will see on this page there are links to our calendars where we have put up some little meetings for you. And we're making it mandatory, so if you can sign up, okay, not to be creepy, but it's a promise of support and threats. We're asking if you have a study hall, you try to do it that period, don't want to go get out of English class, but for those of you that have full schedules, we'll work at a time that they can think works best for you and is important in your academics. Okay? This check-in is a chance for us to more personally connect with you in terms of what does your transcript look like, what classes do you need to take next year, right? You need to make sure you meet graduation requirements. Also, what are you thinking in terms of college, career, majors, military, trade school, what's your plan? And what questions do you have for us now specifically that we can help you with? It's also a time that if you're not really sure how to use Naviance or you're locked out or whatever, and you've been here and you've tried to do it, we can work with you there. And certainly, you are more than welcome and we would love to meet with you more than that, but we're holding everyone to this mandatory check-in just to make sure we have an opportunity to personally touch things with you. So please do access our calendars once this email goes out, if not tomorrow or Wednesday, to sign up for those. There are also 2 forms that you received paper copies of on your way in. One is the permission to release form. This gives us your permission, parents, because you're under 18 and you're pretty much student life. This gives us permission to send things out on your behalf. So you're going to check off anything that applies to your student. So I'd say definitely scholarships, definitely sending out transcripts to colleges if that's where you're going. If you might be going to military, that's a thought, you can check it off. You can check everything off you want to. We're not going to send anything without you asking us to send it somewhere, but this gives us permission and waives liability for us communicating on your behalf. So we do need that form back. The other one seems weird to get in junior year, but it's your diploma order form. And it's asking you, 1, what do you want your name to be on your diploma? A diploma is a legal document. So you probably want your legal name on there. The thing that you would be choosing would be like, do you want your middle name, do you want your middle initial, what do you want on there? Then there's a line for how you want your name called at graduation. So for example, if your legal name is Nicholas, but you always want my name, maybe you have that. If you have a preferred name that is not your legal name, that might be something you want there. Just don't put a wacky nickname on there, or like King, something out last year. Like the best ever, no, we're not calling it that graduation. Okay, so you've got paper copies of these forms. We're happy to take them off your hand, out of your hands before you leave today, but certainly you can take them home. And if you need another copy, we're going to here. So the last big takeaway we want you to have is that we're here to support you. We realize that we're experts in this, but you are largely not. And there's a lot to it. So you are never bothering us, you are not inconveniencing us in any way, shape, or form. We're here to help. Your goals are our goals, and we want to do what we can to get you to that future that you want. So that's it presentation-wise, but certainly we are more than happy to answer any questions anyone might have. We have a couple of microphones, so if you do have a question, we'll ask them.
So how do you receive requests to send transcripts to certain schools? Is that done through Naviance, or does the student have to do this?
No, the student doesn't have to do this. We like to get a heads up of, hey, I'm ready for stuff to be sent. But by adding the schools to Naviance, we then check it and we're able to look and send, oh, it's getting you. We're then able to send these electronically through Naviance. So as long as the schools are input there, that's how we do it. At the beginning of senior year, we'll meet with everyone again and go through the processes of adding colleges to Naviance, adding the teachers for the letters of recommendation, and all those kind of like how to use things. So the main focus for Naviance right now for you is just the exploration, and you kind of come with the preliminary with the colleges the fundamentals of adding things later.
I'm curious about Khan Academy. Are the students already registered with them, and do they have their SAT scores?
So they should already have the accounts. Really good question. I know some math teachers and some English teachers even have already been incorporating that in their classrooms, right? She said. So students do have an account. The way to log in would be through your College Board account, and then the Khan Academy can be accessed that way. And logging into College Board will get students to their PSAT scores as well. And if you have any trouble with that, students, just come down. We'll help you. We can't log you in and don't know your username or password, but we'll do the best we can to help you.
In schools where the SAT is considered optional, is it better to submit one, and are there generally levels where if you're above a certain level, you still submit even though it's optional, or is it better to not mess with that?
Awesome question. So I tell students your SAT is kind of like a weaponized thing right now. So you can see from Naviance, if you look at like, the median student's SAT scores, it's going to tell you what does the typical student have that is in there. Now, they are a little skewed right now because students have been really smart about it. And they said, okay, my SAT scores are higher than the median. That only makes me a stronger candidate. So if I submit my scores and then this other person who academically looks identical to me doesn't submit any scores, it makes me a stronger candidate. So that's why we do still recommend students take the SAT twice, right? They've got the in-school day starting in March, you'll get a letter in the mail soon telling you the specific day, but then sign up an additional day to get that super score. Because if you do well in the SAT, if you're a good test taker, that can be the difference in kind of weaponizing your application and making you a stronger applicant. On the other hand, if you're not a strong test taker, if you have two really bad test dates and you don't perform well, then in most cases you do not have to submit your scores, and the college doesn't hold it against you. They don't go, oh, the scores must have been bad if they didn't submit. No, it's just not considered, and then the other stuff is considered more.
So at the end of your junior year, will the students get their transcript at the end? Or will this come? Because I remember last year there were a lot of people like, how do I get my student's transcript? And even I was like, how do I get my student's transcript? I don't have a sophomore. But it's coming, right?
So we will give juniors a copy of their transcripts now at the midyear point of junior year when we meet with them, but we will also be sending home junior year transcripts at the end of the year because we do let you need those for the college applications.
Around the 4th of July time.
Happy birthday, America. Here's your transcript. Don't be sorry. These are really great questions. I appreciate that.
Okay, so when she's thinking through, she might want to ask for the teacher recommendation letters. What's a good, are there strategic things to think about, right? Like, other than, I understand she needs them from her primary courses or whatnot, and clearly you want to pick a teacher who you think has a good opinion of you. Teachers are not all the same, some of them might write them differently than others. How can she think about intelligently choosing the best one out of her options?
I would say, great question, that first thing you want to do is you want to choose a teacher who you know that they've had a good relationship with. But second of all, if they're interested in a certain career path, let's say it's engineering or science, you would want to at least pick a science or a tech ed teacher or someone who had applicability to that major for sure. And then after that, it's really just choice. But I would say, but certainly if you have an interest in a certain area, I would steer a student towards at least one teacher in that area.
We find that the best letter writers also have had, if possible, the student over multiple courses or multiple years. Or, I'm sure you guys, you had connection So if they know who you are personally and you feel like they get you, that's a great teacher to write a letter for you. Definitely don't choose a teacher that maybe you just had freshman year and never had again, because colleges will look at that and go like, well, I didn't choose you from your freshman year. But certainly if you have them in a repetitious basis, they be able to ask. Or another place to think is, if your student is involved in a lot of activities and perhaps one of their teachers was also an advisor or coach, that's huge because they can talk about the student from different perspectives and in different situations. So that only strengthens the letter. But for the case that, okay, you didn't have a teacher for multiple years, but you really connected with the teacher, that's one of the other functions of the brag sheet, is that they can write a letter that more clearly speaks about you specifically, so it builds a stronger letter for the colleges. Other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for spending your pre-snowpocalypse night with us. We will be sending you this email. And if